the world of cybersecurity, right? It's always changing, throwing curveballs. But what if we could just step back from those headlines for a minute, trace how it's all evolved?
Yeah, sometimes you need that long view. Not just the tech, but how we think about risk, defense, how that's transformed.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've got Javier Sevillano, Director of Cyber Resilience at Accenture Spain.
Impressive title.
It is. And his career is fascinating. Starts way back in 1989, programmer for McDonnell Douglas, creating systems for hospitals of all things.
Hospitals. Long way from where we think of cybersecurity today, huh?
Right. But even then, patient data, that was sensitive stuff. And then from there, he moves to Systema 4B, payment processing. Gets his first taste of cryptography.
That's early days, before cybersecurity was even like a common term. But secure payments, always paramount. Some things never change, huh?
True. And his journey doesn't stop there. Casio Madrid, banking, then Vodafone, telecommunications. He's seen it all. So today, we're tapping into that experience. How does cybersecurity even function before the internet as we know it?
And how do approaches differ between industries? Banking, telecom, manufacturing. I bet there are some common threads, but the priorities got to be wildly different.
Exactly. And then the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence.
Changing the game. Both sides of the fence, right?
Right. Powerful tool, but like any tool.
Yeah.
Good or bad. Okay, Javier. 1989, McDonnell Douglas. Paint us a picture. What did cybersecurity even look like then? I mean, the internet. Barely a blip.
Gotta have that historical context. It's easy to forget. Back then, data was physical, floppy disks, printouts. Changes your whole mindset about protection.
He actually mentioned securing a hospital system might have meant literally locking up those floppy disks. Far cry from today. But did that experience shape your early understanding of cybersecurity in a way that stuck with you all these years?
Funny thing is, tech so different, but the core idea, same, protect valuable data. Just the methods were more analog.
More analog. I love that. So healthcare to payments to banking to telecom, did you find those core principles were transferable across those different industries?
Absolutely. End of the day, it's all about protecting data. But the complexities, the priorities, man, those shift dramatically depending on the industry. A bank's different from telecom. Can't just use a cookie cutter.
Makes sense. Protecting data, yeah, but the what, the how, that varies wildly.
Yeah.
Okay. Project Titan, early 2000s, Casio Madrid. This is a great story.
Captures that spirit of innovation you see in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
This Spanish bank, they developed the world's first EMV-DDA card. Dynamic data authentication, huge leap forward, secure payments.
EMV-DDA. For those of us not fluent in payment tech, what made this so groundbreaking?
Well, back then, most cards, simple magnetic strip, easy to copy. EMV-DDA, it introduced a dynamic element to the chip. Each transaction generates a unique code, super hard to counterfeit.
Not just static info on the card anymore, like a constantly shifting puzzle piece.
Exactly. And get this, Visa reps come to the UK to test it. Their terminals couldn't even handle it. Too advanced.
Spanish innovation forcing the UK to adapt. Love it.
Yeah.
But tech never stands still, right? And neither do the bad guys.
Sadly, true. Local networks, then the internet. Game changer. Data's not on a floppy in a vault anymore. It's flowing through this vast network.
Like the internet opened a million doors, not all of them with locks.
Yeah. Went from physically securing data to worrying about vulnerabilities in all these systems. Attackers don't have to steal it physically anymore. They exploit weaknesses from anywhere.
The whole concept of threat evolved. Not just theft, but disruption, manipulation. Like Bruce Schneier said, complexity is the enemy of security.
That quote, man, never been more true. How do companies even grasp how exposed they are in this digital world? Mind-boggling.
Surface area of exposure. So not just the data, but all the points where it could be accessed. Servers, networks, devices.
Every connection, every piece of software, potential entry point. And with the internet, that surface area just explodes.
Not just building higher walls anymore. It's understanding this sprawling landscape, securing every nook and cranny. But even with the best defenses, breaches happen. So how do companies balance security with, budgets? Perfect security is impossible, but how much risk is acceptable?
That's where it gets tricky. The simple percentage of budget approach, Javier argues against that. It's about understanding your risk tolerance. What can you afford to lose? What's the impact if different parts of your business get hit? Tough conversations, quantifying the cost of an incident.
Not just abstract threats, but making it real. Financial losses, reputation, fines.
Exactly. Cybersecurity, it's not an expense, it's an investment. But sometimes hard to sell that when, nothing bad has happened yet.
Like convincing someone to buy fire insurance before their house burns down?
Yeah, tough analogy. But unlike fire, cyber threats, they seem less tangible.
But the damage just as real.
Oh, absolutely. And it's only increasing, reliance on technology and all. Which brings us back to AI.
Right. Future of cybersecurity. Gotta talk AI. Accenture's making huge investments, and it's shaking things up. Both sides.
Both sides, yeah. Used to enhance security, but also to create new threats. High-stakes chess game.
So give us some concrete examples. How's AI already being used to improve security?
Well, one way, helping analysts in those security operations centers, SOCs, sifting through mountains of data, finding threats way faster than a human, like an army of digital detectives.
Taking on the heavy lifting, letting humans focus on strategy.
Exactly, especially for what we call level 1 and 2 operators, those frontline folks monitoring systems, often entry-level positions, and AI can help them learn, make decisions faster.
Makes sense. But flip side, how are the attackers using AI?
Imagine malware, but it learns, adapts, bypasses your defenses. Or phishing, but so sophisticated it fools anyone.
Like we're giving them new tools even as we develop our own.
That's the challenge, arms race. Accenture talks about responsible AI, developing AI tools, but ethically, thinking about security from the start, anticipating misuse.
Like any powerful tech, right? Benefits, but ethical implications too.
Just like when cloud storage first came out, concerns about data, privacy, took time to develop best practices. Same evolution happening with AI now.
So we approach it from both sides. Securing the AI itself, cybersecurity for AI, and then using AI to enhance defenses. AI for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. Got to think defensively and offensively. How could AI be used against us, and how can we use it to protect ourselves?
This is all great stuff, and we're just getting started. Before we go deeper, what are some key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind as we move forward?
Cybersecurity is always evolving, that's clear. Methods change, tech changes, but the core, that stays the same. Protecting valuable data, understanding that no matter the tech, that's key. It's fascinating how that core principle plays out in different industries. I mean, we've talked healthcare, finance, but every sector's got its own cybersecurity quirks, right?
That's a great point. So let's dive into some specifics. Since you spent a good chunk of your career in banking, Javier, let's start there. What sets the banking sector apart, cybersecurity-wise?
Well, banks, they're high-value targets, no question. Tons of sensitive data, financial info, a successful attack, massive consequences, financially, reputation.
It's not just stealing money anymore, right? It's about disrupting markets, trust.
Exactly. And the attackers, they're getting smarter. Targeted attacks, they spend months, years even, researching, understanding systems, like something out of a movie.
It's not just having the latest software then. You need to know your systems inside and out, the weak points.
Exactly, and constant monitoring. Any sign of anything suspicious, 24/7 job, needs a dedicated team, skilled people.
Was there ever a moment in banking where you realized just how high the stakes were, like really felt that pressure?
He described the moment rolling out online banking. Back then, it was the Wild West, so many unknowns. Building the plane as they were flying it, making sure customer data was protected every step of the way.
Wow, dealing with those threats in real time. Okay, so banking. Let's shift gears to telecommunications. What are the key cybersecurity considerations there?
Telcos, much bigger, more complex network infrastructure than most banks. They're responsible for keeping those critical communication networks up and running, secure. Prime targets for disruption, espionage. Imagine a country wanting to cripple another country's communications. That's the level we're talking about.
And with 5G, the Internet of Things exploding. Every connected device. Potential entry point. It's not just phones and computers anymore. It's everything.
That's it, right. How do you secure a network that's constantly growing? Millions, billions of devices. Traditional security just doesn't cut it.
Got to bake it into the network itself from the beginning. Anticipate those new devices, new connections.
Right. Robust monitoring, incident response, detect, mitigate any threats, fast. Be proactive, not reactive.
Okay. Now, a sector that doesn't always get as much attention, manufacturing. It's becoming more vulnerable, right?
Absolutely. Manufacturers rely on digital tech more and more now. Robotics, automation, supply chains, all connected. Opens them right up.
And the stakes are high, not just financial data. We're talking disrupting production, damaging equipment, even putting workers at risk.
Exactly. And a lot of manufacturers, they have this mix of old and new systems, right? Creates gaps, hard to secure.
Not just the new tech, but those older systems too.
Right. Holistic approach, cybersecurity. from the factory floor to the boardroom. He mentioned OT, operational technology.
He did. Could you explain what OT is? Why is it so important for cybersecurity, especially in manufacturing?
So OT, it's the hardware, software that control physical processes. Think production line, power grid, transportation. Traditionally, these were isolated, but as companies go digital, those lines blur.
Connecting critical infrastructure to the internet. You're basically bringing those movie scenarios to life where hackers take control of power grids and all that.
It's a real concern. These OT systems, not built with security in mind, hard to update, patch, and the consequences, catastrophic.
Makes you think. Data breaches, financial losses. Yeah, that's bad. But with OT, we're talking physical damage, environmental disasters. The stakes are way higher.
That's why it's got to be a proactive approach. Not just protecting data, but people, infrastructure.
This ties back into risk tolerance. How do companies actually assess and manage risk, practically speaking?
Well, first, identify your critical assets. The data, the systems, the processes you absolutely can't lose. The crown jewels, so to speak.
Prioritize.
Exactly. Then assess the threats. What are the vulnerabilities? Who might attack you? Cybercriminals, nation-states, hacktivists.
Need to understand the threat landscape then, general and specific to your industry.
Absolutely. And determine the likelihood of an attack. What's the impact if it happens?
They're not just worst case, but most likely scenarios.
Right. Balance. Being prepared, but not overreacting. Once you have a realistic picture, then you develop a plan to mitigate those risks.
Security controls, training programs, incident response plans.
Exactly. Informed decisions. Where do you put resources? What risk are you comfortable with? Zero risk doesn't exist, so it's about managing it effectively.
Ongoing process then. Threats change, so companies have to adapt constantly.
Right. It's not a one-time thing. Proactive, adapt, and build that culture of security.
Culture of security, what does that actually look like?
Everyone, from the CEO down, understands cybersecurity matters. Their role in protecting the company. Security is part of everything you do, everyone's responsibility.
Not just the tech, but the people, the processes. Security is everyone's business.
Exactly. And this is something that Javier brought up really resonated. Hard to convince companies to invest in cybersecurity, especially if they haven't had an incident. That it can't happen to us mentality.
Common problem. Cybersecurity feels abstract, budgets are tight, other priorities seem more urgent. But the cost of a breach, of an attack, it can outweigh the cost of prevention by far.
That's the challenge, communicating the value of cybersecurity. Not just scaring them, but showing them the return on investment.
So how do you get through to those resistant companies? Make it real for them.
Javier suggests speaking their language, business language, no jargon. Focus on the impact to the business. What happens if there's an incident? Quantify those risks.
Financial losses, reputation, fines, losing customer trust. Paint that picture.
Exactly. And don't just use numbers. Real-world stories. How have attacks hit businesses like theirs?
Make it personal. And it's not just about preventing attacks, right? It's being ready to respond if one happens.
Absolutely. Incident response plan. Crucial.
Like a fire drill, but for a cyber attack.
Exactly. What do we do if something goes wrong? Who do we call? How do we contain the damage? A plan helps you stay calm, act fast.
And test that plan regularly, right?
Yeah.
Make sure it's up to date, everyone knows their role.
Absolutely. Tabletop exercise. Simulate an attack, walk through the plan, find the gaps. You don't want to wait for a real attack to realize your plan has holes.
Speaking of evolving threats, responses, AI, it's clearly a big part of cybersecurity now, both sides.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about the specific ways AI is being used?
On the defense side, AI is automating a lot of what security analysts used to do manually. For example, AI-powered SIEM systems, security information and event management, analyzing tons of data from everywhere to identify threats.
Hold on, SIEM systems. What are those exactly? How does AI help?
Imagine a central command center for your security. That's a SIEM. Gathers data from everywhere, firewalls, intrusion detection, antivirus, analyzes it for patterns, anything unusual.
Like a central nervous system for your security.
Exactly. But the problem is so much data. Humans can't keep up. That's where AI comes in. Analyzes in real time, filters out the noise, shows you the critical stuff.
Separating the signal from the noise, so analysts focus on the real threats.
Right. And AI is also used to build more sophisticated detection models, spotting things humans might miss, like another set of eyes constantly watching.
It's credible. Game changer. But the attackers, how are they using AI?
Imagine malware that adapts to your defenses constantly evolving. Or phishing attacks so personalized, so convincing, they fool anyone.
Giving them tools as powerful as ours.
That's the thing. Constant arms race. Responsible AI. That's key. building these powerful AI tools, but ethically, thinking about security from the start, how could this be misused?
Building it responsibly.
Yeah.
Thinking several steps ahead, both the good and the bad.
And staying informed. The AI field's changing so fast. Cybersecurity professionals, anyone who uses technology, really, they need to understand these advancements, how they impact security, both ways.
This has been fascinating, how cybersecurity's evolved, from locking up floppy disks to dealing with AI. Before we wrap up, what are some key takeaways you hope our listener will get from this?
I think the biggest one is cybersecurity. It's not just a tech issue, it's a human issue. It's about behavior, good and bad. Why do attackers do what they do? Where are users vulnerable? How do businesses make decisions about risk, about security?
Technology is just one piece. We have to factor in the human element everywhere. Designing secure systems, educating users, it's a complex problem, needs a multifaceted solution.
Easy to get lost in the details, right? But it comes back to protecting what matters. Our data, privacy, infrastructure.
And empowering people, giving them the tools, the knowledge to protect themselves in this digital world.
That's huge. Cybersecurity, it's got this image, complex, technical, and it is, but it also comes down to everyday things we all do.
Exactly. Javier said something earlier, really stuck with me. Cybersecurity is about helping companies understand their risk and make smart choices about protection, giving them the power to own their security.
I like that. And it's not just companies, is it? Individuals matter too. We might not be fighting off nation states, but we can all do things to protect ourselves, our data.
Absolutely. Little things make a big difference. Strong passwords, watching out for phishing emails, keeping software updated, basic stuff, but important.
Yeah, like washing your hands. Simple habit prevents bigger problems.
But sometimes, even with the best hygiene, we get sick. And in cybersecurity, that's where incident response comes in. A plan, it can make all the difference.
Be prepared, right. What if something does go wrong? Who do you call? What do you do to limit the damage? Having a plan, it helps you stay calm, act fast.
Like having a fire extinguisher. Hope you never need it, but good to have it just in case.
Exactly. Proactive steps to protect yourself. Prevention, preparation. And, for anyone listening who's fascinated by this, wants to make a career of it, Javier's story is pretty inspiring.
Started as a programmer, now a leader in the field. Shows you there are lots of paths in cybersecurity, and it's always changing, new opportunities popping up. And you mentioned how many people Accenture alone employs in cybersecurity.
It shows you the demand, skilled professionals helping navigate this complex world. And it's not just technical skills, it's thinking critically, problem solving, communication.
Those soft skills.
Yeah.
The human element. Just as important as the tech stuff.
Absolutely. Adaptable, curious, love learning. Those are the qualities you need, not just for cybersecurity, but for anyone in this digital age we live in.
So to our listener, one final thought-provoking question. How can you contribute to a more secure digital world? Your career choices, your own actions, even just staying informed about the threats out there. We all have a role to play.
It's about realizing cybersecurity isn't just for tech people. It affects us all. Our privacy, data, livelihoods, how we live our lives.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
Yeah.
How threats have evolved, the defenses, AI, how we all have to take action. But this is really just the beginning.
Yeah, just scratching the surface. But hopefully got you curious to learn more.
There's tons of resources out there, online, libraries. So if you're interested in AI, history of data breaches, all that, go explore.
And as always, we love to hear from you. What did you think of this episode? Any aha moments? Anything you're still wondering about?
Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe out there in the digital world.